10 most emotional moments on Dr. Phil. Some guests on Dr. Phil are sassy and outspoken. Some are criminals, and some are so delinquent that they need to be rehabilitated. However, every now and then, a story will surface that is so sad that you can't cope. Join us as we take a look at the 10 most emotional moments on Dr. Phil. Make sure you have some tissues nearby. You're gonna need them. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos about your favorite movies and TV shows.
Thank you for being here.
Number 10. Father meets daughter. When Gary's son Zach told him that he was transgender, Gary couldn't take it. While he had seen photos of his son dressed as Steph, Gary had never come face to face with her in real life, until the pair appeared on Dr. Phil to address their issues. As soon as Steph walked out, her father was overcome with emotion and struggled to contain his tears as Dr. Phil rooted through their history. Despite Steph's wishes for her father to accept her as she goes through biological transformations to become a woman, Gary just couldn't handle it, telling the doc, "He's not a good-looking girl. He's a very beautiful man." The audience members were hit right in the feels as the story unfolded, mainly as it didn't seem like Gary was a hateful man as such, just one that was genuinely struggling to come to terms with losing a son that he raised. He admitted that it must have been very hard for Zach to hide his true identity for so many years. Number 9. Drink, drive, death. Back in 2009, Dr. Phil opted to skip the drug drama for an episode to help a remorseful drink driver, Julie. Sadly, Julie got into her car after far too many drinks, ran a stop sign, and plowed straight into the vehicle of 16-year-old Bambi, who was on her way home from work. Bambi died in the collision. Julie, unable to live with her guilt, appeared on the show hoping the doc could help her. The emotional scene is one of the saddest throughout the show's history, as Phil encourages the crying woman to talk to an empty chair, as if the deceased teen was sitting in it. Sobbing, Julie apologized for ending Bambi's young life with the encouragement of the TV therapist. The audience found the entire thing hard to stomach, as the camera panned to shots of people with tears streaming down their faces. Julie pledged to lead her life with the 16-year-old always in her heart, and prayed that no one else would find themselves in the same position. It wasn't all hugs and love, though, as Phil laid out some home truths that hit Julie hard.
I don't even want that to be a thought, but it has been a reoccurring thought for a long time now.
Number 8. Mom's plea. Losing a child has to be one of the worst pains a person can ever experience. And when you see your pride and joy slowly destroying themselves, it's nothing short of terrible. Shirley went on the show to address her son Todd's alcoholism. Dr. Phil asked Mom to explain to her son how she would feel if she had to bury him. Todd, who was drunk throughout his appearance, cried as his mom told him that she would be broken, constantly wondering what she could have done differently to prevent it. Unlike a lot of parent-child dynamics on the show, the love between the pair was apparent, making the entire scenario completely heart-wrenching. Todd's siblings also chimed in, but what was really sad was seeing how completely wasted he was as he tried to explain to Dr. Phil that he wanted help. He could barely get his words out as he was that hammered. Interestingly, Todd would later make claims against the show, telling newspapers that he was given a bottle of vodka and a Xanax by producers before coming on stage.
They are here. Would you like to meet them now?
Please, yes,
Right.
please.
Teresa, Timmy, come on out.
Oh my goodness.
Number 7. 45-year reunion. In 2014, an elderly woman called Dottie reached out to the doc for help in locating her 3 children. She claimed that her ex-husband kidnapped the kids 45 years ago, and despite her efforts, she never managed to track them down. She told Phil that it's broken her heart, that her kids were her life, and that there wasn't a day where she didn't think about them. Thanks to the doc and his team, the children were located, and 2 of them came to the show to meet their mom. Dottie was overwhelmed as she saw Timmy and Teresa, and there were tears all round. Her daughter had a lot of questions for her mom, though, and it wasn't all peachy. Rather than a doting mom, Teresa remembered Dottie as being an angry, abusive woman, something that Dottie strongly denied. Despite this, both children were happy to see their mom again, and agreed to form a relationship moving forward. All's well that ends well, right? Number 6. Drunk drive confrontation. Talking to the person that killed or injured your child is something that a lot of parents can't face, while others want to hash it out with the perpetrator. One mom and dad went on the show to talk to Dr. Phil about the challenges their young son, Isaiah, faces thanks to a crash involving a drunk driver. Because of the accident, Isaiah has severe brain damage and is paralyzed from the chest down. Naturally, Phil got the driver on the phone. Noah admitted that he was drinking and smoking marijuana while driving the vehicle that hit the 18-month-old child. As a result, he spent over 400 days in prison. The devastated parents were visibly shook hearing the voice of the man who did this to their son. Although the driver apologized, Mom Lucy didn't seem swayed by it, asking where he had been while they were struggling to raise money for their son's treatment. Number 5. False imprisonment. This episode of Dr. Phil was difficult for anyone to watch, let alone appear on it. Loretta was on her way to school many years prior when she was attacked and raped by a stranger. Then just 15 years old, she went through the court process and picked Dean out from a lineup. The happily married dad of 3 went to jail for the crime, spending 14 years behind bars. Only DNA evidence later proved his innocence. Loretta and Dean came face to face for the first time on Dr. Phil's couch, with the shaken woman crying her eyes out as she apologized profusely for wrongly identifying him. Dean didn't say much, but prior to meeting Loretta, he expressed his wish for her to find closure. But understandably, he couldn't quite let go of the years of his life that he had lost. Even the doc praised him for not being angry and having a great attitude. "You are clearly a victim here," said Phil. "I'm so sorry that happened to you." Can you imagine being falsely accused of such an awful crime?
You are a good man.
Number 4. Our Savior. 2 teens went on the show to talk about the horrific abuse that they suffered as children. This segment was super emotional for 2 reasons. The brother and sister hadn't seen each other since being rescued from the horrors of their adopted home 10 years previously. When they were reunited on the show, the pair were in disbelief. Abba told Phil that her adoptive parents let her sleep in a normal bed while her siblings were kept in dirty cages on the floor. For some reason, she explained, she was liked while the others weren't. There was another Kleenex-worthy moment when the doc brought on the man who blew the whistle on the appalling conditions, freeing the children and alerting the authorities. When Phil surprised the pair with Carlisle, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. In his interview prior to the meeting, Carlisle described the cages hemmed with chicken wire that the children were kept in. Although he told his bosses in the care work industry what he had discovered, nothing happened for 3 years until a new staff member stumbled across the notes. Sharon and Mike Gravel were jailed for just 2 years. Number 3. Grieving mom. Getting over the loss of a child isn't easy by any means. In fact, most parents never fully come to terms with losing one of their own. Leah went on the show after her daughter was killed in a car crash 10 years previously. Jessica was just 15 years old at the time. The mother of 3 explained that she was traveling with her husband and children when a car swerved into their lane, causing the fatal collision that left her daughter dead and her eldest son paralyzed from the waist down. Although it was a decade prior, Leah couldn't get over her intense anger toward her husband, Curtis. Whenever they fought, she couldn't help but blame him for Jessica's death, telling him that she didn't want to take the trip in the first place. Dr. Phil took her to task over saying such hurtful things to her husband, but it went much deeper than that. Leah admitted to keeping Jessica's bedroom untouched for all those years, as if she'd let it go. She felt it meant she stopped caring. Number 2. Ted Bundy encounter. Rhonda Stapley has told her story to many outlets, including a tell-all interview with Dr. Phil. It would be wrong to call Rhonda lucky, as what happened to her would destroy a lot of people. But she did manage to escape one of the most notorious serial killers of all time, Ted Bundy. Back in the 70s, the young pharmacy student was waiting for a bus to take her back up to Utah University when Bundy offered her a ride. Unbeknownst to her, Ted wasn't simply a handsome young man who was doing a good deed. He took her to a remote location, told her he was going to kill her, and sexually assaulted her. Rhonda told her horrific tale in detail to the doc, including how Bundy suffocated her to the point of unconsciousness several times. She woke up for the final time in the backseat of a Volkswagen Bug in a wooded area. The door was open, and in one last-ditch attempt for her freedom, she ran. There aren't many people who would cross Bundy's path in this manner and live to tell the tale. Rhonda's story seemed to shake even hardy Dr. Phil to his core. Number 1. Please help. Sometimes in the midst of a divorce, the kids get the brunt of all the bad stuff. Even if the parents try and keep everything away from them, children pick up things pretty quickly. One 12-year-old sent in a heartbreaking letter to the show, begging the doctor for help to make her childhood better. The sad note details that her father's ways had led to his daughter to cut herself, as well as feel like she needed to protect her 8-year-old brother. While the mother was shaken and moved by the little girl's words, her father tried to defend himself. The bitter argument between dad, mom, and stepmom was clearly not going to be resolved in a quick minute. But when Dr. Phil produced another letter from their daughter, pleading to have them both in her life, it was icing on top of the cake. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing content, and don't forget to check out one of the other 2 videos on your screen.